I now call on the Honourable Scott Moe, Premier of Saskatchewan, for his remarks. Sir.
Well, thank you very much. Your Honour, Mr. Speaker, legislative colleagues, special guests, representatives of the public service, and most especially the veterans who have joined us here this morning. Good morning to all of you. It's with profound gratitude and deep humility that we gather today to honor the courage and the sacrifice of heroes, Saskatchewan heroes. And we come together on a solemn anniversary for our province, for our nation, and for the world. 100 years have passed since the end of the First World War. We're a century removed from these storied battles, from Vimy Ridge, from the Somme, Passchendaele, Mount Sorrel, names forever identified with astonishing bravery and unthinkable sorrow and loss. A century has passed. But our duty does not diminish with the passage of this time. Today we acknowledge the heavy burden borne by those who served in the Great War and by their families. We acknowledge what they have endured on our behalf, the future generations that are so fortunate to live in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine the conversations that could have been heard in this building 100 years ago. With 42,000 Saskatchewan men in uniform, everyone here would have known someone on the front lines. And those at home were affected as well. In true generous Saskatchewan spirit, they gave what they could. In the fall of 1918, the Saskatchewan branch of the Red Cross collected nearly $1.5 million to support the troops and the civilians that were caught up in this war. That's the equivalent of $22 million today in a province of 700,000 people at a time when incomes were very modest. More than 6,000 of the 42,000 who served never came home. One of them was Private Willie Barstow. Born in Prince Edward Island, Willie moved to Saskatchewan when he was 19 to homestead south of the community of Weyburn. He worked his land there for 7 years, and then he went to work for his country, far from his home in Weyburn. Willie died overseas on September the 2nd in 1918, 2 short months before the war's end. Just this year, one of Willie's great-nephews, Skip Barstow, he visited the place where his great-uncle was buried in France, in the small village of Drury. Walking to the battlefield where his great-uncle fell, Skip noticed something. There on the path was a single red blooming poppy, out of season on that chilly fall morning. A poppy spotted at about the time of day when Willie would have taken his last breath on the battlefield, on that very battlefield so many years ago. The village of Drury welcomed this veteran's family with open arms, even arranging a small ceremony in honor of Willie. The mayor of Drury said this about the ceremony. We spent 2 days to commemorate the liberation of our village by Canadian soldiers. These days were full of emotion and gratitude to these young people who crossed the ocean to fight for our freedom. Crossing an ocean to fight for our freedom. It's difficult to imagine that today. Leaving everything behind, traveling halfway across the world, sacrificing all that you have, and if necessary, even your life. And this happened not just at Vimy Ridge and not just at Passchendaele. It happened at Dieppe or Ortona or Normandy. In the Second World War, it happened in Kapyong in Korea. It happened in Kandahar in Afghanistan and on peacekeeping missions all around the world. It's so humbling for us to consider. And even now, there are men and women ready to do what Willie Barstow and thousands like him did a century ago. The vigilant, the active, and the brave, willing to make that selfless journey for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, there's a single red poppy blooming above our hearts, just like that single poppy in France found by Willie's family. A symbol of the extraordinary sacrifice made by Saskatchewan heroes on each of our behalf. A reminder of our duty as citizens of this blessed land. Today, we must reflect on our good fortune. We're obliged to offer our heartfelt and our sincere gratitude. And we are called upon to remember. We're called upon to remember this day and every day. We can never forget. Thank you.